everyone, and welcome back to Bears on Tap, a podcast about the Chicago Bears presented to you by On Tap Sportsnet. I'm your host, Brandon Suarez. You can follow me on Twitter at BDon300, and you can follow my co-host, Joey Knows Nothing, Mr. Joey Ricotta. Today, we're going to be breaking down a slew of different things, but mainly on the docket for today is Texans. We got the Lovie Smith revenge game. We're home favorites back at Soldier Field after an absolute thumping at Lambeau. But before we get into everything for today's episode, let me check in with my guy, Joey. Joey, how are you today, brother?
Good. I found my phone Sunday night. So that was good.
We were a little worried about you there Sunday night.
Yeah, I spent the entire second half trying to find my phone that got stolen from me at the softball diamonds and thrown into a drain tunnel that was like a mile from the field. So, and luckily we were able to find it on my girlfriend's like find her phone app thing, whatever, the GPS. Yeah. And so my ass
went
and jumped in this tunnel, ran under a bridge all the way down to get this phone. Luckily it wasn't broken. I have no idea how I found it on 1% too. Like that's not even popped. Bro, there's no way. I almost lost this thing for good. Somehow it's not completely destroyed. The case was like off of it. So obviously when this little kid chucked it over the fence, it landed and busted the case off it. But yeah, so it looks like I didn't miss much with the second half of that game. So I went back and watched it. But
I was gonna say,
yeah.
They did you a good service. I have a feeling the person that took your phone had to have been a Packers fan, and they're like, you know what? Let's just throw his phone and make him drive back to Kankakee to figure out what the score is. But yeah, I don't know. The Packers are behind us. We're on to the Houston Texans. But before we get started with the game talk, should probably address the elefante in the room, and that is the Justin Fields press conference earlier this week. Just basically saying, like, there's nobody in the world that cares as much as the people in that locker room. Like, the fans don't care, or not care, but, like, the fans don't put in the work, right? And in a sense, true, but also, like, we're one of the most self-entitled fan base. The amount of times I log on to twitter.com and see I'm a Chicago Bears season ticket holder, and this is why we should do this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's a lot, but it's also a city of, like, hardworking individuals that sees this kid who, 23 years old, for the most part for the last 10 years of his life, has had, granted he's worked for a lot of it, has had every opportunity to progress his life to become the star that he is today. I won't call him a superstar because he definitely ain't playing like no superstar, but he's a star in the sense that everybody knows who he is. He's making a lot of money, a nice car, all that stuff. So I think while us as fans, we can misinterpret these things, it is what it is. Like, I was not offended by it when he said it. I really and this is a person that hammers the Bears money line 17 times a year with hard-earned cash, and I'm fully invested, and we do the podcast twice a week. Like, it's a non-issue. I understand what you're saying, and I can also understand where Bears fans are at with it. But that is the first thing on the Justin Fields docket. He also since came out and apologized because obviously, he's frustrated. They caught him in the heat of the battle. It was right after the game. So it is what it is. But how do you feel about this situation, both angles? Because as a fan, we're the ones who are supposed to be, like, pissed off about this. And it didn't even rub me the slightest bit the wrong way.
No, I didn't care at all. I mean, like, that's the thing. The dude's mad. They just lost a game. Of course, I think it's a little bit was taken out of context, obviously, and then clipped up like that. And it's not cool to see that type of thing because then you didn't get the question in front of it that led to his comments. But, like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, dude, of course these guys care so much. They don't know. Like, so this is the part that kind of rubbed me, like, the wrong way in the sense of, like, I understand why fans would be upset about it because they don't know what type of commitment each fan makes to the Chicago Bears, right? Every year, every game, watching every game, listening on the radio if they can't watch the game, like the type of commitment that they do throughout the week, tracking this team, reading up on all the news, trying to see the matchup at hand, like, you know, the back and forth, like, talk between Packers fans and Bears fans and, you know, Vikings fans and Bears fans. Like Fields has not seen that over the years. So, like, not just him, all the players, like most of the players anyways, especially if you haven't been, you know, in Chicago or with the Chicago Bears for more than what, you know, his second season now, going into his, like, this is his second season. So he hasn't seen that, and he doesn't know, like, how hard it affects certain fans. Should it affect fans, like, so much? Probably not. It's just a game. It's a game that it's an entertainment thing for us, right? We're entertained by the Bears playing well or even poorly at times. So it really shouldn't affect our mood like that.
It's a different type of entertainment, though, when they're not playing well. It's a way different entertainment.
It's not entertaining at all, but it's, you know, different. It's like torture entertainment at that point. But you know, it's like, that's the thing. So I understand why fans would take it kind of out of context that way and be like, hey, what do you mean we don't care? Like, dude, we support you. We want you to win and all that. And yeah, you got the Fields jersey on. I got the Fields jersey on. I still support Justin Fields. I don't care. Like, his comment didn't bother me necessarily. Like, it's like, I understand. Like, those guys care in the building. They are professional athletes. They want to win. They want to perform. Like, it should never be the fans more than them. I just think that sometimes it's like you could make the argument that with certain fans and players, it's equal, right? Because you ride or die with your team as a fan, even as a diehard fan. So I don't necessarily think that he was wrong for those comments. He shouldn't have had to apologize. You know what I mean? I just think it's a ridiculous thing to get mad about. But I understand, like, you know, where some fans might be rubbed the wrong way.
Yeah, and another thing too is I had to, like, type out a tweet and delete the tweet because I'm like, you know what? There's no sense in tweeting this because we're doing the show tonight. But listen, we have not seen anything from Justin Fields, okay? And I'm not saying, like, in a sense that we haven't seen anything from him on the field, right? I'm saying that his first season was a Matt Nagy year, and so far this season, we have not seen one single game plan conducive to the way that Justin Fields plays the game of football. And we here, as a city of fucking meatballs in a roll of Toronto bread, are just all losing our shit because of a couple bad games. But it's like, look, dude, they dropped back, I think it was like 17 or 22 times, 11 pass attempts, couple sacks, an interception or whatever the fuck. Like, it wasn't pretty. I understand that, right? But we're not rolling Justin out still. He obviously holds on to the football. That's on him. Like, he holds on to the football longer than anyone in the NFL. But if you're not calling a game plan that's conducive to him being successful, like, he's like, what do you expect? We don't have a Randy Moss on our, like, you know what I'm saying? We don't have that type of talent on our offense. We have a bunch of mid. We have a mid-ass offensive line. We have new coaches and new play callers and a second-year quarterback. I don't know what we as Bears fans expect. I understand he lit it up at Ohio State, and he was a phenomenal talent at the college level and someone that had us very excited when he was drafted with the Bears. And I'm still very excited to see what the future holds for Justin Fields. I just am not in the camp that I see the sky falling with this kid yet. I understand there's some red flags. You're going to get that anytime, any sport you're adjusting to a new level. Throw into it, he has the worst offensive line he's probably ever had. And then on top of that, he probably had better skill position players when he was at Ohio State than he does now. And that is probably a fact at any given time in comparison to the players that he's going up to against. You know what I'm saying? It's not even close. So until we get a serious team around Justin Fields, the evaluations are all subjective. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
It's just too early.
It's too early. Yeah, it's way too early.
This is the smallest of small sample sizes because last season we know what he was up against. Like, basically fighting his play callers. Like, not actually like he wasn't fighting with them, but I mean, like, in the sense of trying to overcome, like, the horrible play calling. And, like, this season, so far you're seeing the lack of talent, right? You're seeing guys losing battles up front too. Like the line is not the Bears are dead last in adjusted sack rate for the offensive line. So like it's not even just about the playmakers at that point. Like yes, he is holding the ball too long, but being dead last in adjusted sack rate, a lot of that is on the offensive line. There was a play there in that the third and goal play right before which your head wants to explode when, and I listened to a little bit of your guys' post game, like maybe the first 20 minutes. That's all I was able to listen to. But you guys were talking about that fourth and goal run, right? The quarterback draw, shotgun, quarterback draw. Makes no sense in that situation. But that third and goal play that Justin kind of set that up with because he dove to the pylon, there were receivers. I think it was two out on each side, two receivers on each side. And on the top part of the screen, the left side, receiver broke free down. It was like a kind of a pick route, like a slant play. And he broke free and he was open on the left side. But the problem was Fields was looking to the right. So I'm not sure, what exactly he was supposed to be looking for pre-snap there. But he didn't have enough time to look left and then find the open receiver because Braxton Jones got beat off the left side, and then he had to scramble right and then set that up. So, like, some of that is – like, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown right there.
Jones got beat bad on that play too.
That's what I'm saying. Braxton Jones got beat bad on that play and then forced Fields out of pocket, and he couldn't make his progression left and see that he was open. And that's a touchdown right there. So, like, some of these plays, yes, like he played horribly. Like, don't get me wrong. Like there were moments where guys are breaking free. Like you said, he's holding the ball a little bit too long. I don't think he quite understands this system yet either. And yes, the play calling wasn't great. Like we know that from the fourth and goal play and like a lot of other plays too. Like there seems to be a lot of mirrored concepts with different slant concepts where it's like slant routes on double slants on both sides. And I just don't really understand that. You're not really taking advantage of coverages at that point. So there is a lot of that too, where it's kind of head scratching in the sense that you're expecting Fields to learn and know all this stuff right now when he's basically in his rookie year. Because how much of that was he taught last season? Like I question that too. I don't know what he learned.
It's fat and naggy, dude. He didn't learn shit last year. And whatever he learned, too, take this into account. For us regular folk that work regular jobs, right? Like you work your whole life at a company and then your company gets bought out. When your company gets bought out by a new company, they probably follow a bunch of new practices and there will be an adjustment period for all the employees in said company. Keep that same energy with Justin Fields. I'm going to have to sit on here and just be a Justin Fields truther and just be like, look, man, he got 139 yards this week, but here's where he looked good. Like, I don't know how else to cut it. Like, he's our quarterback. Like, we have to stand behind this guy. The one thing that we can't do is jump off the fucking bandwagon yet. That's what we can't do.
You sound like every Cubs fan right now with this rebuild that the Cubs are in. No, I'm saying in the sense that like Juice will say it on Cubs on Tap a lot. Like, hey, we got to talk about this one Christopher Morel play when the rest of the team plays like shit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Morel might have made 2 throwing errors, but like, look at what he did do well. And like, that's kind of where I feel like we are with Fields because you can see the flashes, but it's just like so inconsistent right now and honestly bad that it makes you want to defend him though for us because I think we're smart enough to know like this was not going to be just some click of the button and all of a sudden you got a franchise quarterback.
We're a cursed franchise. We have never had a good quarterback in the history of our franchise. I've said it. I just said it. We have never had a good quarterback in the history of our franchise. Okay, when you sit back, listen. When you sit back and you look at the list of Bears quarterbacks and you instantly click to Jay Cutler as the best quarterback in your franchise's history, you are a fucking joke. And we have been around longer than it. We have been around since before the forward pass.
It's sad, honestly.
We've been around since before the fucking forward pass.
You got to go to Sid Luckman to your next one.
So it's frustrating, and everybody wants Justin to be that guy. Right now, it's the "you're not that guy" pal meme, and we hope that turns around. But again, way too early to be jumping ship and like looking at the clouds as if the sky is falling, because it is not. I think personally, we'll get into it since we'll get into this week's game. I know the Texans have been very frisky the first few weeks of the season, but I don't care. They're not a good football team. They don't have talented players. They probably have the same crop level of talent that we have on our roster, if not lesser. There's only really two people on the offensive side of the ball that I'm really worried about, and Brandon Cooks and Damian Pierce. Rex Burkhead gets a lot of touches on that team, which tells you everything that you need to know about them. Like, holy fuck, Rex Burkhead's still in the NFL and still kicking. But they have played above the level that people have expected them for the first 2 weeks. So there is no reason why we should overlook them. It should be a good game. And then, too, if you look in Joey's name for the show, it's Lovie Smith. He's returning back to Chicago on the other side of the field this time. And he is going to put his best foot forward to try to win this football game. And especially for him, it's a perfect time to come see us because we looked like shit last week across the board. So he's probably licking his chops. He's licking his gray beard, if you will, because that is the grayest beard in the history of beards.
Yeesh. How surprised are you to see him even still, like, or even with a head coaching job?
It's nuts, dude. When Lovie was our coach, dude, like, that was like I was elementary school and middle school. I'm pushing 30 now, dude. Like, that's nuts to me. And it wasn't like he stuck around. Like, he went to Tampa, right, for a little while.
He went to Illinois, though. Like, no, dude, he didn't have any success there. I know
he went to Tampa, and then he went to Illinois. And, yeah, he was terrible at Illinois. I'm not going to lie.
Good Lord.
Bielema's doing a better job, but Illinois is cursed as a football school, I think, because you need too many people to field the goddamn football team, right? They're fine. I said we're. So I'm not an Illinois fan. Don't get that twisted. They're fine in a basketball sense because, hey, you only got to find 12 guys. But for a football team, it's a little bit harder. And for some reason or another, a lot of these Illinois schools pick a lot. Like, I know when I look at NIU's rosters, like Chicago, Mount Prospect, like Crete, Des Plaines, like all this shit. So I'd have to look at Illinois' roster as well. I'm sure they have a little bit of a wider recruiting trail, but yeah, not necessarily a football school, at least since like Dick Butkus and shit went there. You know what I'm saying? And I did not mean that on purpose. Dick Butkus ain't shit. Like, that was terrible. But
you just put your foot in your mouth. Yeah. But dude, I think honestly though, it's tough. It's tough for Lovie to be like to be a recruiter. I think for college, like he's such a player's coach, but like I feel like he's one of those coaches that kind of grows on you more the more you spend time with him. Like for like a recruiting sense, like I feel like it's kind of like playing that whole game and then his like whole scheme and stuff. Like I don't know how well it works for college.
We play the Tampa too.
Yeah, like
you're not going to be able to go down in the box at all.
Like, no hitting when you got fucking every team wants to just pound the football, and like we got to rely on like a good 3-tech or like
yeah, fuck that. And
it's not working.
To kind of bounce off your point, look what just happened to the other coach from his era that was coaching college football. That man didn't even make it back to the locker room on Saturday night. You know who I'm talking about?
Talking about Scott Frost? No,
even funnier. Herm Edwards. They fired that man in the end zone.
Oh, Jesus!
It's a video, and you just see like the athletic director and the president of the school come out, and they just like put their arm around him, like just kind of like, it's all right, pal. It's gonna be all right. And all you see in the background is Eastern Michigan celebrating, and then like a giant MAC flag, and I'm like, this is chaos. But yeah, I don't know. He's from an older generation of football coach. Right now, we're kind of in a new influx of head coaches, right? You look at the McVays, you look at the LaFleurs, the Shanahan disciples, as in I'm saying his children, because obviously you look back, Mike Shanahan was a phenomenal coach, but he's kind of in that older group. And then you got older guys that have kind of stuck around, like McCarthy. You have the staples like Belichick and Tomlin. Like it's a wild, wild west of NFL coaches. And then you have the fucking clowns like Nathaniel Hackett, who he has looked terrible so far this season. And then you got the Madden creative player coaches, which we have in Matt Eberflus. So pick your fighter, if you will.
That's what scares me. You're naming some of these names, and I'm like, even when I gotta stop with the Nathaniel Hackett thing because it's like, man, like Matt LaFleur, are they just trying to pick off like you know how they do with Sean McVay? Like we're just gonna get his whole coaching tree and like try to turn him into like a great coach and all that, like as a head coach or something or coordinator somewhere else. I mean, Luke Getsy, like that's how I'm kind of like nervous right now. Like as a Bears fan, if I'm seeing this, like what Getsy's like drawing up doesn't seem to be working all that well. He seems to be like not calling the right plays at the right times. And also like Nathaniel Hackett looks like a bum. Like it just no clock management, just like it just looks awful over there. Like I don't know, man.
It's been
like,
a weird 2 weeks so far in the NFL to say the least, right?
It's been very strange. And like I think and the Texans, like to your point too about like them not having the talent.
1-1.
They're 0-1. They almost pulled it off against the Broncos too. Like they kept that game kind of reasonable and close. Like, and they almost beat the Colts obviously too. So I like the Texans. I don't know, man. They're not as terrible as like they're not a good team, obviously talent wise, like basically like the Bears. Exactly. But Davis Mills hasn't even been as terrible as people probably thought he was going to when he first got a shot, right? Like he wasn't one of the hyped up dudes, like wasn't a good, quarterback, wasn't expected to be anything. I'm not sure what you're doing, but
I was trying to be Davis Mills.
Just looking up to this, just all neck.
Just trying to make as much neck as possible.
He's I thought you were going to say just trying to get some head, but he's just trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
No, I think
he hasn't been terrible. And honestly, if you were to power rank the quarterbacks based off the way they've performed from his draft class, he's
one of the better ones.
Got a good shout. Yeah, he hasn't played bad, especially considering they're a shitbox team, like not good at really anything. But what'd you say the total was for this game? 42?
I think it was 40.5. I want to say I saw it at something like that.
I'm going to skip ahead and just say 17-16 Bears or like something super perverted and low scoring. Like this is going to be a really weird game. It's going to be a very, I don't know what the right word I'm looking for. I don't know what the type of weather will be, but this is just going to be one of those games that for all intents and purposes is played in between the 20-yard lines. Like it's just going to be, you look back at the ESPN app and it's just punt, 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 punt.
See, I don't think so. I think we're getting a completely different type of game here. And the reason why I say this is because Lovie has been kind of like, okay, look at that first game against the Colts, right? The Colts were able to put up some yards, but it was kind of like the bend but don't break Bears teams, right? Like that's just kind of the feel it had. I mean, 352 yards from Matt Ryan, but they still didn't put up that many points. Jonathan Taylor ran all over them. And then last week, I think they gave up close to 150 yards on the ground with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. And I think that this team, like the Bears are kind of, they've been hearing it now all week, at least to this point, and probably up until Sunday, obviously, about not getting this thing going. David Montgomery feasted last week. If you're talking about like if they wanted to keep this ball on the ground and still put up some points, I do feel like Fields will play much better than last week. The Packers defense is way better than what the Texans have, just as like a talent perspective. So I feel like, you might be able to get away with them not getting as much pressure too on the line and getting to Fields, even though he did have time on a lot of these plays. Yeah. But like pound the rock with Montgomery, like what are 15 carries, 122 or something like that.
Monty is going to be a bell cow for us this year. And anybody that doubted Monty and was like sucking Khalil Herbert dry, I don't know. Like,
and Herbert had a good game too.
Herbert's played good, but we're so quick to give up on people that it's sickening for a franchise that hasn't won anything in either of our lifetimes. I was trying to do the math, but then I'm like, if you were born in 85, you'd be old as shit. So yeah, for some reason, 2022 and 1994 don't feel too far away. Like, I don't know why, but yeah, I was not alive for the Super Bowl. And for both of us, like the peak of our Bears fandom, really, like think about it, Joey, 2001 to 2007, 8, right? And since that time, that was our golden era, right? Like
The Hester run back.
There was a couple years that they missed the playoffs in there and stuff, but that was probably the best time during our lives to be Bears fans. Since then, it's been like playoffs every 4 or 5 years. Playoffs, yeah, we get there every now and then.
And it's been getting your shit rocked by the Packers every year.
No, yeah, I just saw a stat. We haven't beaten them. We haven't beaten them since we clinched against them when we won the division in 18.
How fucking sad is that, dude?
Four whole years.
Stop putting this team on primetime at Lambeau. I think all but 4 of those times, like you can go back and look at all the primetime games that they put the Bears and Packers on, and I don't want to bitch about that game anymore. But 4 of those games,
it is behind us, yeah,
have been at Lambeau Field. Like, what kind of why? How does that make any sense at all? It makes no sense why they just get the home field advantage for the primetime game.
We talked about this on the pregame. If we would have won on Sunday, we would have been tied all time. And then what? You know what I'm saying? So that means, somewhere down the line, the cheese curd fan base has had to deal with this level of run from our Bears. But go ahead.
Oh no! You know what ruined it? First of all, you guys already talked about this. You said I didn't do my thing at halftime, which I didn't. But something else might have ruined it too. So you said no cheese days and no beer or whatever, or like no cheese. I'm not eating any cheese.
Your fathead ass was eating cheese curds out of the cooler and drinking beer at the softball game because you're from Rockford. I already know that.
No. Listen. I did something even worse, and I probably should have recorded it. So Saturday night. This is before all that stuff happened on Sunday with the phone stolen, playing 4 games, whatever, not on no sleep. Saturday night, I went to Cheese Days. Me and my girlfriend, her friend, and boyfriend went to Cheese Days. I was at Cheese Days. I was in Wisconsin. I was eating cheese curds and drinking beer. So I think I fucked it up. I did. You said don't do that. I fucked it up.
I was about to remove you from the stream, but I'm so bad at technology, I don't know if I was going to be able to get you back. So I'm just going to cover you on my screen. But, yeah.
I thought it was going to be something to turn the corner, though, because I've never been to Cheese Days or anything.
Don't eat barbecue or barbecue sauce this week, and don't drink lean this week.
Don't drink lean.
This week or any week, to be honest. But, yeah, let's get into the injury report. It's kind of a detailed one on both sides. We'll start with the opposition. So for the do not practice list, you have Malik Collins, defensive tackle, Jerry Hughes, defensive end, not injury related rest. Brevin Jordan, tight end, did not practice. And then Isaac Yadam, cornerback, did not practice. I'm pretty sure that's their slot corner. And then they had 2 limited and then 1 full participant. The 2 limited participants were Blake Cashman and then Camus Brugier Hill. I don't know how it's probably something like that. Sounds French. He used to play on the Eagles. He was on the Eagles for a while.
He's top 3 in tackles right now in the league, too.
I believe it. Yeah, he's been a dog. He's a good player. One of the few on their team. And then they had to give him a special long box because of his neck. But Davis Mills, quarterback, full participant. It's actually kind of funny. His head is just towering over the other team. But on our side, this is where it gets kind of ugly, right? You don't want to see this. It's all do not practices, and it starts with safety Dane Cruikshank, who not necessarily the starting safety, but has played a good amount of the snaps, at least probably closer to 50%, has played well, and then obviously has some special teams use as well. Ryan Griffin, tight end, an Achilles injury, did not practice as well. This should come as no surprise as he's been on this list for the first 2 weeks of the season. Wide receiver Velus Jones, hamstring, did not practice. And then the new addition, the one that probably hurts us the most this week if he's not able to go, with shifty backs like Dameon Pierce, and I wouldn't say Rex Burkhead shifty, but he's just annoying out of the backfield, Roquan Smith. So it's early. It's only Wednesday by the time you're hearing this. My phone's dead. You'll hear this on Thursday, I would say a.m., but if we don't have Roquan, it changes a lot of what we do on defense. I think it's way too early to tell, and I think Roquan's the type of player that he has to be hurt, not injured. Or is it injured or not hurt? I don't know. Whichever one's the worser of the two. You know how football coaches get, where it's just well,
I think
Johnny,
injured is the bad one, but hurt is get your ass out there. Yeah. You're hurting? No, you get your ass out there. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, no, we'll have a football guy spelling bee with full definitions and all, hurt or injured. But yeah, he's the type of guy where you're going to have to keep him out of this type of game. And I think, too, very pivotal point in our schedule, right? Because we play the Texans, play the Giants. You have a real opportunity at sitting at 3-1. And I really don't see any scenario that we get to 1-3. I think no matter what, the most likely scenario of these next 2 weeks is probably a split, just like bowling. But you got to get the first one on the board, and then the second one becomes a lot easier, right? And this is going to be a season where wins are, for lack of better terms, few and far between, especially if we're playing the way that we played last week. The first week is an outlier because weird weather, opponent really wasn't up for it, at least so they say, and you find a way to win a football game at your home field. Now, if we can turn Soldier Field into a fortress and find a way to continue to win football games at Soldier Field, then this will be a very exciting season, and no love will be lost in regards to the comments that Fields made. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be like, oh, well, maybe this kid had a point. We're paying good money to come see this kid, and he's not letting us down. Now, I hope that is what happens. Probably won't be what happens because this just, at the end of the day, is not a very good football team. I saw this morning in the power rankings. They're ranked 30th, so that's not great. But I think that's not going to stay that way. I think let's cap a ceiling. Let's cap a ceiling on the power rankings because we get no love. But I say this is a team that, dare I say, sneaks at least to the number 20 spot at some point during the season. Whenever they go on that run, and it's like, dude, if they're 3-1, regardless of who they play, say they get through the season, they're like 5-3 or 6-3, and there's like a little bit of a buzz in Chicago about like, hey, this team's playing great football. Maybe they can make something happen and go to the playoffs. You never really know.
Yeah, the NFL is just weird that way. Like you get those surprise teams every year, and I don't know if I'm not willing to jump out on a ledge and be like, hey, the Bears are going to be the surprise playoff team, whatever. But like this part of the schedule is pretty easy, like this early part of the schedule, and like you said, I mean, you could jump out to a 5-3 start, or like, I know we were talking about potentially starting 6-0 just based on if you beat the Packers
just
or whatever.
Because we're literal meatballs, yeah. Because we're meatballs.
Yeah, and you still have the Vikings mixed in there too. So I mean, but like realistically, after 6 games, could you not see them going 4-2? Like, I could see that. I could definitely
play the Commanders. They play the Vikings and the Commanders. There's no reason to set realistic expectations. The very worst that I want to see this team coming out of this 6-game stretch to start the season is 3-3. And I think it's very attainable. I said attainable, obtainable. Can't speak right now. Ran out of water. Fridge is a million miles away. That's what it is. But they are going to play against a Vikings team that we usually end up splitting with. Like, it's kind of a wild card. Like, are we going to get the Dalvin Cook game? Or are we going to get the Thielen or the Jefferson game? Or is Kirk Cousins just going to play catch with Eddie Jackson? You know what I'm saying? Throughout Kirk Cousins' time there, it's kind of been a split. With the Giants, me and Q were talking about it even before the show and a little bit after the show. This last show that we did on Monday, we've kind of beat the Giants a lot lately. So in a way that might scare me because the Giants have looked better this year, but they're still not a finished product, and they would still have to put together a pretty damn good game to come into Soldier Field and beat us. I don't even know if that game's at Soldier Field now that I say that.
Well, they barely squeaked.
It is not at Soldier Field. It is at the shittiest field in the NFL, at the Meadowlands.
They barely squeaked by with that last game, too. Like,
yeah,
I did pick them. That was, one of my picks last week. But I don't know, man. I think Saquon Barkley being healthy does help that team a lot. Like, actually, like, he looks good. But, like, still, there's still a lot of holes, I think, with that team. Like, so, yeah, that's a winnable game. It's definitely a winnable game. I wouldn't say that, like you said, they're not a finished product. So, I mean, to go back to this Texans game real fast, like.
No, yeah, I was gonna say reel us back in, get back.
Yeah, we got to reel back in because this is the week we're on. Not to we don't want.
We're in Houston. We're on the horse. We need to reel it back in. We're getting reeled back in.
We put down the lean for a second. We got a little bit drunk there, a little messed up. I think honestly though, dude, like this team, if you're not prepared, which I think after a loss, like responding wise, like I think that this team will respond just because like I don't think Eberflus, there's no nonsense. right? There's no games. There's you get out there, you hit somebody, you wrap up, you hustle, you play sound defense, you go for the ball, you take the ball away. Davis Mills will not be able to make a mistake. I think it's going to be cool to see the chess match here, though, too, between Lovie Smith and Matt Eberflus, because, obviously Tampa 2 style coaches, like very knowledgeable about what the other is trying to do and what they can see from a schematic standpoint as far as like what coverages that they're rolling out there and just everything that they're trying to accomplish on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's going to be cool to see. Like you said, there could be a little bit of a rock fight, but I expect there to be like, I don't know, man. There's no way possible that you can go throughout a season and how many targets does Darnell Mooney have to this point? 5, and Cole Kmet has like 2 with no catches, zero catches.
I'm surprised we made it 36 minutes into this show without either of our heads exploding as my ears explode like I'm on an airplane right now. About the fact that
you got to go back down the hill, get them to pop.
I need some cheat plays. It's a little bit better that the Cubs just took the lead, but
yeah. Back to the Bears. I am not like scared that we could lay an egg in this game. I just think that this game could go one of 2 ways, right? It could go Sunday. We're sitting here at 4:00. Like, how the hell did we let that one slip away? Or I think you could use this as, what's the word that I'm looking for? Kind of like a jumpstart game, right? Because week 1, you never really got anything going offensively. Week 2, you had a great first drive. If the game ended after the first drive, Super Bowl champs. Best drive I've seen from the Bears in a long time. Couldn't find points for the rest of the game. This week, week 3, dare I say, what if this ends up like that Bears-Bucks game? Now, I'm not saying scoreboard-wise that Mitch exploded and had like 5 touchdowns and was pressing the B button all over the field. Like,
don't get me too excited.
Listen, man. Any given Sunday, do you think this week could be a week that we see? Because it's not a matter of how, it's a matter of when, right? There's 17 games. These guys are not going to ghost for the entire season. We're not going to get no catches from Darnell Mooney.
And Roquan Smith is not going to have another he might, but he's not going to have as many bad games as he had on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm wondering too, not to completely change the subject, but like, or the topic as far as players go, how much of that, him being on the injury report and sitting out practice today, how much did that play into on Sunday? Like, was he feeling the tip on Sunday?
On Sunday, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so
that goes to what we were saying earlier. That's a guy that, bro, unless he can't be on the field, he wants to be on that field. And
100%.
Us Chicagoans will take a bullet for a player like that any given week. You know what I'm saying? Like, love Roquan. Hopefully he can play with us out here on Sunday because we're going to need him. But
like you said, man, those like Mooney and Kmet, like, to go back to what you're saying, how long can you hold those guys down? You got to scheme them open too. But I think some of it is like Fields not finding them, but like the routes run, like, I mean, you can go back to week 1. Kmet wasn't running that many routes. Like last week, what were there? Like, what did you say? I think there were 18 or 19 dropbacks.
I think a total of 22 was the number.
Was it that high? Okay.
Yeah,
all right, but
was it that high? We're watching freaking Big 8 football where they just hand the ball off. That's what we were fucking watching on Monday or Sunday Night Football. It was ridiculous. I felt like I was watching Kerry Grove.
Bro, in the second half, you can't do that. You can't do that when you're down. I'm sorry, you can't. Like, I understand you're moving the ball, but like, 15 carries from Montgomery is not that much at the end of the day. It's not that much. But Scott here giving us the Cubs update.
Yes.
Hashtag Fly gives us #Cubs, a 4-3 lead. Let's go, baby. I'm not going to read the rest of that. We're talking Bears right now, but I like that, Scott.
The morale's high. It's boosted. The Bears are winning 4-3 on Sunday. Book it.
The Bears win 4-3, 2 safeties and a field goal. Let's go.
Get you an Iowa football score.
Get us a Scott from Iowa score. Come on.
Yeah, no, that one's for you, Scott from Iowa. We'll get you a little 4-3 score on Sunday, or at least a safety, right? Davis Mills is not mobile at all. And I think that's one thing, too, with our pass rush. Look, for the first 2 weeks of our season, Travis Gibson. Robert Quinn was kind of ghost first week, but Robert Quinn, it was crazy. I should have asked you what book to bet this on because I didn't think about it before kickoff. But I looked at my brother. I was watching the game at his house. I go, look, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can bet this, but Robert Quinn will get a sack tonight.
and sure shit he did. And I think the pass rush is a positive that we've had for the first 2 weeks. The pass coverage is a little bit there's some that needs to be desired, but I think a positive that you can look at in the secondary is that people just absolutely refuse to even look in Jalen Johnson's direction. Maybe Davis Mills will test that this week. And I think this is a week that we could have a couple turnovers. I'm not going to say like 3 or 4, but you could create turnovers against this type of team. Their starting receivers are Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, and then their backups are Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore. And then they signed Tyler Johnson after the Bucs cut him, and then they also have Bucs castaway O.J. Howard on their team, but he's listed as a third string tight end. And then offensive line, not too great. They got the gas mask guy, Laramie Tunsil. Christian Kirksey on the defensive side of the ball. They got the young gun, Derek Stingley, and they also got Jalen Jalen Petrie. I know we talked a lot about him in the pre-draft process, the safety from Baylor. So they do have a lot of young players. And I think if I recall on the draft stream, we were really giving them kudos to how they drafted this team. But they're almost the exact same team made up as we are, in a sense that it's like not really great in any one area of the field, but we'll go out there on Sunday and give you a good 60 minutes, most given weeks.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier too about the Bears adjusted sack rate. Yeah, it's a small sample, right? It's only 2 games. So take this for what it's worth. The Texans are 22nd in adjusted sack rate for the offensive line. So like their offensive line can get their ass beat. And so maybe that is an area where, yeah, you can take some advantage of them with Travis Gibson playing as well as he's shown thus far. You know, Dominique Robinson had a great week 1. Like Robert Quinn got on the board, had a sack week 2, like you said, that you called. You know, that's an area that you should be able to exploit. And the Bears, that's why I think that there's a lot of hope for the defense just as a whole moving forward. When you're playing against Aaron Rodgers, yeah, some of that was schemed open. Some of that was you got your ass whooped in the run game. Like, you cannot get your ass whooped in the run game like that.
They were getting smoked. I think they ran for over 200 yards on this.
They are dead last in rushing yards allowed per game right now, the Bears. So that you just got your ass whooped, and you cannot allow that to keep yard per carry wise, not as terrible, but like it's still not great. I think it's like hovering around 5, which is not good. Not great, Bob. But like you're looking at the Bears, I'm talking about the pressure right now. Like the pressure rate, I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier. Pressure rate, the Bears are first. This is according to like ProFootballReference.com. Pressure rate, the Bears are first. In hurry rate, the Bears are first, but they are last as far as blitz rate. Now, I don't know what they consider a blitz, if it's 5 or more, like what we do, as far as bringing like 5 or more, what their blitz rate is. But like they have the Bears marked down for 1 blitz on the entire season, and you're first in hurry rate and you're first in pressure rate. To me, that screams you're going to either get more sacks as you face quarterbacks that do hold the ball or a little bit more indecisive, or you're also going to improve the defense as a whole and take the ball away a little bit more, as some of these younger guys like Kyler Gordon did not have a great game on Sunday. And Aaron Rodgers attacked, to say the least. Aaron Rodgers attacked the fuck out of him as he gets more acquainted with the NFL, just like, you know, gaining the experience that he needs, obviously, facing good quarterback play and just good offenses as a whole, receivers, all that. Obviously, it's tough for him playing the nickel, but he needs to get better, and I think he will. And it's a good little like learning moment for him as far as what Sunday brought and what maybe it taught him. But I think as like guys get better in the secondary and with the pressure rate, like what it is and like how much they are kind of getting near the quarterback and making like life difficult, I think this defense is going to be very good this season, or at least like above average for most of the season, because I feel like there are some building blocks there, and Roquan will not play as bad as he played on Sunday.
No shot. Going into this matchup, what do you think offensively we have to key in on to at least find a way to win this football game?
Offensively, I think we need to run the ball. I mean, I know you said, you know, we can't run the ball too much. I feel like it has to be like I know that's like a very general thing to say is run the ball, but I feel like you should be able to run the ball on this team and get what you want out of the game. Like time of possession, right? Like that's something you guys talked about too on the show. And like the time of possession, the Bears got their ass absolutely handed to them against the Packers. You cannot lose time of possession, especially in your building, at Soldier Field. I know Lovey's returning the revenge game, whatever. That's a blown out of proportion narrative. We're just fucking around. Like this
love a narrative. It makes our job easier.
Yeah, it makes it fun. It gives us a little something to talk about. But like honestly, Mr. Graybeard, it doesn't mean anything. When you line up these two opponents, the Bears, like, yes, they are kind of similar. The Bears, I think, do have a little bit of a talent edge. I do truly believe that. And I think that if you can run the ball and Montgomery busting tackles the way that he was, the push that the line's getting even for Khalil Herbert, there's no reason why they can't just run the ball down their throat. And then you can set yourself up for, your Mooney to get open, your Cole Kmet's. Like those guys should have bigger games. I honestly I don't think the Bears are going to be below 20 points this week. I really think that they're going to get close to that 30-point mark just because I expect some explosive plays.
Yeah, and we got a question here from Scott from Iowa. It says, will Johnson, speaking of Tyler Johnson, go for a third game straight without being thrown?
I don't know. You have to talk to Lovie and the Texans about that. I have no idea. Maybe. I mean, Cole Kmet's not getting the ball thrown his way, really. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Defensively, I think it's simple. I think create pressure. I think create turnovers and a lot of negative plays. I think this is a week on both sides of the ball that you can really use as a litmus test for the rest of the season, because this is a team that is on our same level, right? We can really get a true look at what our team is made of in a game like this, because it's not a team that we tremendously overpower or they tremendously overpower us. It's two pretty level teams. The line is 2.5 and we're at home. And for those of you that understand how lines are made in football, it's essentially a pick-em, because every team on this earth gets at least two. They at least get a field goal for being at home. And I'm not saying
like 2 points, I think, is like
I'm not saying
rating scale or power rating scale.
Yeah, so even if you're a dog, if you're a team that would have been plus 10 at home, maybe you're plus 8.5, plus 8, something like that. So it is a game that, yes, I called in my win total article as a game that is very winnable and a game that we should win, but also a game that we have seen this Chicago Bears team, maybe not the current makeup that they're in, drop time and time again in years past. So I think the most important thing is to not overlook the opponent, and I think to kind of use this as a get-right game. I think go crazy with the offense, get as many points as you can, try out as much stuff, have fun, as Matt Nagy would say back in the past. Like, try to have fun. Try to have as much fun as you do out there, because
I think I just got a migraine.
The football that we were playing last week was not fun at all in the slightest bit. If we can get a half of the game to even go as good as that first drive did on Sunday, I'll be happy. I would like to see, I'll say 24 to 27 points. It's totally attainable. But I also think on the defensive side of the ball, this is a game that the Texans should not reach the 20-point mark. I think 17 points is probably the maximum amount of points that I'm willing to accept from our defense this week against them. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where I'm wrong at. But give me your players of the game and your score prediction, and then we are on to Houston.
I'll start with the score prediction. I don't think that I was going to predict 31 for the Bears, but I mean that would call for 4 tutties, and I just feel like that's a little bit extreme.
Oh, I thought you said 30. I'm like 4 tutties and a safety.
No, no, I think 30. I think it will go with 27 points from the Bears, because I feel like 3 tutties, 2 field goals, 27 for the Bears. And for the Texans, I agree. There's no reason. I think 17 is like, you can't let them get more than 17, 20 points, this Texans team. So I think 27, something tells me that they aren't going to be scoring much in this game. So 27 to, we'll say 13. I think it's going to be a little bit of a rout here for the Bears. And I think players of the game, I'll give it to, like I said, I think they're going to need to run the ball. like they're just going to keep hammering it down their throat, and they're going to be successful at it. So I'm going to give it to Montgomery. I think he's going to have another big day, maybe even more carries this game, or maybe Herbert cuts into that. But I'll give it to Montgomery. And defensively, bounce back opportunity. Let's give it to Kyler Gordon. I think Kyler Gordon maybe steps up, learns some things from last week, and I don't think they're going to be trying to take too many deep shots against the Bears. So maybe in the slot, I could see some plays available there for Kyler Gordon. So I'm going to give it to him. Maybe he gets a pick.
Sorry, my dog has just been trying to make his way onto the stream.
Well, I want his pick. Pick.
Benzo, who do we got, buddy? Hold on, let me get him in the stream. There he is. He's like, get me off this thing. But for my pick, offensively, I think I have to, right? It's in my name. I'm wearing his jersey. We started the show with 9 minutes of me, progressing and telling you guys how much I think that we need to just take it. We need to relax, man. Relax on this kid. I think Justin Fields goes out there and has an incredible game. I think he'll have – I'm not going to say 300 yards because I don't think we're there yet, but I'll say over 200 total yards of offense, and he'll contribute to 2 touchdowns. So maybe it's a throwing and a rushing. Maybe it's 2 rushing. Maybe it's 2 throwing. I don't know. But continue to doubt this kid. Continue to give him more bulletin board material. Continue to put his back up against the wall. And I truly think it will continue to sharpen him and make him more of a motivated and talented player. Because, I don't know, you see Joe Burrow, he deleted all Instagram and Twitter this week. He got rid of all socials. I think I wouldn't hate to see Justin do that because it's all fucking bullshit. And the Chicago media is terrible with our own players. So there's nothing that he can gain from reading an article from the Tribune or the Sun-Times, or even, he took a shot at Barstool. He was saying that, the social media blogs and those type of people kind of really ran with his quote. I think what Justin Fields needs to worry about right now, and the most important thing, and this is my beat-down onomatopoeia of the fucking episode, is he needs to worry about the man in the arena. And if you haven't seen that speech, I encourage you to go read it. And when we get the man in the arena, Justin Fields, everybody else has to watch out. I think this Sunday we get man in the arena, Justin Fields, visor on, slipping and sliding around, running for extra yards, doing his little flex, all that stuff. I'm looking for a big game from the kid. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think I'm going to go with Eddie Jackson. I think Eddie Jackson comes out with a pick in this game, and I'm going to even further it, and I will further it with a wager. I'm going to bet Bears anytime defensive touchdown this week. I haven't looked at the odds. I'm not going to put a lot of money on it, maybe just like $10, but I think this is a week we can get some points from the defense. So I think Eddie Jackson's the guy to do it. If I want to get super freaky, I'll find that exact market, and I will beat Jeffrey motherfucking Bezos when that clock hits 0. But for the final score, I'm gonna go 24-14. I think it still stays under. I don't think it's a game that goes over. Those low score totals are like your specialty. Like you see a baseball game with a total of 6.5 or 7. Your ass is sharper than the lead of a pencil, and you're on that shit. You see a total of like 38.5. You're betting the under, and that shit's smacking. I might have to trust you on this one.
Wait a second. What did I say? I said I took the over, and then I gave a 27-13 score. 27-16.
Okay. Yeah. But I think even though you're really good with these low totals, I think I'm going the other way. I think it's a little bit of a more low-scoring game. Not by much, but I think 24-14. And yeah, it's going to be all right. I'll call my shot. 1 passing touchdown, 1 Fields rushing touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and a field goal. That's the beat on. Right. That's the beeline parlay because it's definitely not winning. I put an L in there instead of a Don. But the beeline. But do you have any final wrap-up thoughts ahead of this week's matchup against the one and only Houston Texans and our former leader of our team, Lovie Smith?
Yeah, the offensive line I think that's a huge part of this. You need to do your part in this game. I don't think everybody like Larry Borum. I think there was some spots there too that I'm like, yeesh, man, you're getting beat off the block. Like, what's happening here? I mean, like, I think running wise, they created some lanes, but even then, like Montgomery, like busted some tackles and made some guys miss, and like there were a lot of missed tackles in that game. The thing about the Texans too, I believe they lead the league in missed tackles at this point. So like this is a shot to like Montgomery should be able to kind of, he's being a tackle breaker, especially what he's shown over his career. Like he's a hard runner. I think you will be able to kind of exploit these guys a little bit, but. Final thoughts, man. I think stop looking for reasons to not like Justin Fields. Stop looking for reasons, this is more to the media than the fans. Stop looking for reasons to get people to stop liking Justin Fields. And what I mean by that, like basically like that entire thing that happened that came out there with the clip, but like if he keeps playing as poorly as he did on Sunday, people will already begin to stop liking him or like stop believing. So like there's no need to be like Justin Fields hates the fans. Like don't create that whole narrative. Like it's just a bullshit narrative. And I think like you just have to give him time though. Like you said, I stand with Justin. It's in your name right there. And you're picking him to be the player of the game this week. And I love it. I think he's going to have a good game. I really do. Bounce back a little bit here and definitely showcase what we know that he's capable of. So and getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker. Maybe that means dumbing it down a little bit early on in this game. I don't really want that, but like, I don't know. I just think it's way too early to tell. We started at the top of the show. It's way too early to tell on Justin Fields. Final thoughts. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I know we're getting close to the hour here. Bears W on Sunday. Let's go.
Oh yeah, no, the Bears -2.5 will end up in my bet slip. That's what the line's at right now. I would say honestly wait until Sunday to bet it because I could see this being a nice, beautiful -110 on both sides. And that would be beautiful. I could honestly see it trending that way just based off of some of the trends that you said. And then two, I'm sure a lot of the sharp money will come in on the Texans because people are extremely low on the Bears. But
they've covered 2 weeks in a row too. The Texans have. So
yes, they have. Yeah, they gave me a nice little second half under last week that I ended up having to sweat for no reason. But they play low scoring games. They play white knuckler games. I think we have enough to beat them by more than one possession. But I do like on the topic of betting, I do like the Bears spread this week. But with that being said, this was Bears on Tap presented to you by On Tap Sportsnet. I'm your host, Brandon Suarez. You can follow us on Twitter you can follow me on Twitter at BeatOn300, and you can follow us on Twitter at Bears on Tap. You can follow Joey at Joey Knows Nothing. He's been on a little bit of a heater. I took a couple ice cubes last weekend. Don't look at my tweets from Sunday because I got absolutely bloodbathed. And then the second I took my picks offline, I started winning again, and then obviously I went back to the Bears and started losing again. So I'm looking for a big week this week. Joey is as well. Take a look on Saturday and Sunday. We'll have our picks posted. But Sunday evening, early evening, right after the game, I'd say probably about 3:30, we'll be right back with you guys to break down hopefully another Bears victory against the Texans. But we got nothing else for you guys. We really do appreciate you for tuning into this episode of Bears on Tap. And bear down.
Bear down.